Hey, and what is up, movie viewers? Dena Mo Views and Reviews here, asking, what you watching? Well, today I am watching Nappily Ever After, and it stars Sanaa Lathan, Lynn Whitfield, Ernie Hudson, Ricky Whittle, and Daria Johns. It is written by Adam Brooks, Tina Gordon Sissom, Gina Prince Bythewood, C. Marcellus, Lisa Loomer. Produced by Sanaa Lathan, Benedict Carver, Mark Platt, Jared LeBeouf, Tracy Bean, Mark Moran, Gemma Puglisi, and directed by Hafa Al Mansour. Now, this movie was released in September of 2018. Even if you have seen it already, it is a movie worth watching a second time. I think Sanaa Lathan is a good actress, and she has that familiar face and demeanor that reminds me of one of my nieces. In this movie, she plays Violet Jones, a young, successful black woman, but she is plagued by a incident, a traumatizing incident that happened to her as a child. A simple incident in a pool, along with her mother's ideology, has caused Violet to always want to be and look perfect at all times. Her main focus, though, is on her hair and making sure that her African American hair is straight at all times. So, she is constantly checking the weather and making certain not to get a single drop of water on it, because those of us that are of African descent and are lucky to have this particular type of hair know and understand that once we straighten it, especially with a straightening comb or a hot iron, if there should be humidity or water comes in contact with it, it will eventually cause it to return to its original texture. Although chemically treated hair or straightened hair does not do this, it tends not to do this. It happens over time in that case. It doesn't happen as fast as it would when you use heat. Now, Violet had a mother that was consumed by the presentation of her child. Her view was that Violet was a reflection of her as a mother, and she wanted Violet to avoid water so that her hair could remain straight and she could be this neat little girl. So rather than allow her to have fun and enjoy swimming in the pool with the Caucasian children, Violet was only allowed to stand at the pool and observe them playing. Her mother wanted to prove that she was just as well groomed as any white child, except they weren't. This was something that caused 11-year-old Violet great anxiety, especially after noticing that all of the white children would run around the pool wildly with their hair uncombed. They were in bare feet, and there was clear evidence of the meal that they'd eaten that day on their faces, yet they enjoyed themselves. They were getting in and out of the water, having no thought or care to any defects in their appearance. And this made Violet think that she had to be fixed somehow, meaning her hair had to be washed, combed, and straightened weekly by her mother. So Violet is told not to get into the water by her mother. She's allowed to stand near the pool in her bathing suit and observe the Caucasian children who are clearly enjoying themselves by playing in the pool. Violet's mother is sitting in a pool chair nearby. She's drinking a beverage and she's happily observing her perfect little girl at the pool. Her mother has this content smile on her face. She's sipping on her beverage and she looks perfectly neat herself. She's well groomed, but she is clearly observing Violet and reminding her, Violet, do not get in that water. She seems to be adoring the neatness of her daughter, and she wants to make certain that she stays that way. But Violet is standing by that pool and she's watching these children play and enjoy the water, and she's thinking, I'm sure, for a 11-year-old, this is just a little bit too much. This perfection stuff is too much. She clearly wants to get in and just play, but her mother insists she not dare touch that water. As she is standing by that pool, one of the Caucasian boys asked her if she was afraid of the water, and she nods to him no. And then he says to her, "I bet I can hold my breath longer." Her mother notices and calls her full name. She says, "V, I am warning you," she says, but V is not paying attention to her mother's words. This was a challenge, and Violet could not let it slide. No, no, no. She had to prove him wrong. Her mother screamed, "Violet Jones?" But Violet ain't hearing that. She ignored her mom and she jumped into the swimming pool to take on that challenge that she, of course, won. But when she came back up to surface, the Caucasian boy looked at her and said, "What the hell happened to your hair? You look like a chia pet." And two of the Caucasian girls that were sitting by started to laugh, and they started chanting, "Chi-chi-chi-chia, chi-chi-chi-chia." And this embarrassed Violet so bad she went back underwater. She didn't want to come out, but eventually she did because her mother was waiting for her on top of that pool, looking down at her. She was clearly embarrassed. Instead of responding back, "This is my beautiful black hair and I like it just the way it is. Deal with it or go straight to hell." That's not what happened. Violet's mother snatched her up and put her in the car and drove away. That one incident stayed with her, and it affected her outlook on life. As a result, Violet made it her business to look perfect, to speak, and maintain that perfect facade at all times from that point on, even waking up early before her live-in boyfriend awakened to straighten her hair and make herself perfect. Just doing way too much. She would set her clock so she could get up hours before him so that she could prepare to look good for him. And I cannot say as a woman that I've never done that. Maybe once or twice. But Violet, as an adult, is a beautiful, well-accomplished marketing executive who continues to be completely, fanatically into this idea of perfection. And she is attempting to do as her mother recommends she do. And that is to get a ring from the guy that she is currently seeing and living with. She's so obsessed that when she arrives at work, she even has her secretary, whose name is April, to check the weather and the humidity before scheduling a lunch date outside with her besties. And once outside on the patio, during conversation, she's constantly looking up to the sky and she's pondering about clouds in the sky. And she's asking, "Are you sure there is not a rain cloud?" That is not a rain cloud that I'm looking at in the sky. And one of the friends had to assure her by saying that the weather report said no rain. But she is excited on this particular day. It is her birthday. And she is excited because this is the big day that she gets a ring from her boyfriend of 2 years. She invites her parents, who are now separated, and she invites her friends and relatives to her birthday dinner tonight to see that expected proposal. But when she receives from him a puppy instead of the expected ring and proposal of marriage, it causes her to question herself and him. She begins to spiral and she's wondering what is wrong with her. She is disappointed and lets Clint, that's the name of her live-in boyfriend, she lets him know that she expected a ring and wanted to know why after 2 years of dating he did not propose to her. He is so surprised that she would ever even be expecting a proposal, and his response is, "Why would you expect that?" He said he don't even know her, and she is very beautiful, but she's 24/7 perfection, and it is like being on a 2-year first date. Hmm. I don't know a lot of men that would complain about that, but okay. She rightfully, in my opinion, asked him to leave, that the relationship is over. But he seemed surprised, and I'm like, girl, after 2 years, if he don't know you, if you don't know me by now, how the song go? But she's very disappointed, and she began to doubt herself, and she spirals into this self-doubt that leads to self-reflection. And this is why I give this movie a 3 out of 5 stars, because although this big disappointment caused Violet to appear to unravel and question herself, her looks, her habits, her behavior, her life, and her overall perception of herself, it proved necessary for her to find herself. So after she went on this emotional rendezvous, she had a couple of drinks, and she ended up drunk and emotional one night, and she shaves her head bald, completely bald. And this begins the long journey that leads to self-acceptance. And this is why I had to give this movie a 3, because it is something that some of us have experienced or may experience in the future, but I found this movie to be relatable. It was a bit funny and realistic to a point for many, or at least some, black women. My favorite part was when she jumped into the pool. She had accepted herself, and she had accepted this short natural hairdo, and she was letting her fiance know, accept this, accept me, or leave it alone. And when her mom and dad kissed, it was Nappily ever after for me. Yep, you know, I like that black love stuff, and I loved seeing it on the big screen. Now, there are a lot of things that went on. Now, I don't like to give the entire movie away. Leave something for you to check out. But that was just some of the things that I found very interesting to me in this movie. The movie really just highlighted some of the effects of, to me, what I would call white supremacy on the black mind when it comes to beauty standards, and most of all when it comes to black hair and black women, and having to have this straight hair to be acceptable in certain parts of this society. Something subconsciously that was thrust upon the black woman and man, and it can make some insecurities within us, insecurities with your image as well, and how other people see you. So, but particularly when it comes to black hair and acceptance, even today, black hair discrimination still exists. And it is an issue for some, especially in the work environment today. Now, if you constantly tell someone that something about them that is natural to them, that they have no control over, is bad or negative their entire life, what do you expect? Not knowing or truly understanding that the beauty that is you, it can make one second guess themselves and wonder, like she did, what is wrong with me? Was I made in error? Heck no. Girl, you are the mother of all civilization. How can that be an error? It's already perfection there in your creation. So it also shows how good it feels to accept and embrace the beauty that is black hair and black womanhood, removing all the superficial, the sensationalized factors, and just accepting yourself as you are, regardless of what society or propaganda pushes. It is empowering, it is enlightening, and just a beautiful thing to behold. I love my black hair. I love the texture of black hair. I don't care the style. It is so unique and so versatile. And I've always questioned, why don't people just accept it as it is? And a lot of people do. But like I said, the movie highlighted the millstone it puts on women to be perfect as well, especially when it comes to being acceptable or accepted in this society. But for me, it is redefining the narrative and rearing the next generation of black girls to accept their own. Everything that makes them a black woman and being their own black self, even if that means boldly rejecting propaganda and racist beauty standards, because there are some beautiful black women and I love this black hair. But the ending, it kind of left me hanging. It did not show if she did indeed get married or who she was with. Who did she end up with? That was a negative for me. It did show, and I gave that, I think it was that example of getting in the pool of her just embracing herself and how she began the process of loving that natural African person, African hair, and she wasn't wasting her time anymore trying to make it acceptable or make herself acceptable to anyone but herself. It's a beautiful thing. Even in the movie though, when Violet dyed her natural hair a blonde color, she was still very beautiful with blonde hair. And my husband often say that black women can rock any style of hair and or no hair at all. He said they still look good. Although he does prefer the long natural hair, he admits that black women got that style and that profile that makes it all look good on them. And who am I to disagree with him? Nappily Ever After is rated mature audience, and rightfully so, because there are some very mature scenes in this movie. And if you would like to check out Nappily Ever After, you most certainly can, because it is now streaming on Netflix. If you have watched it or decide to watch it, leave me a comment on your thoughts on this movie and let me know how you would rate it. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share this review, and check out both channels on YouTube. Discussions with Dena, where I discuss current topics, events, and concerns to me and you, and Dena Movie Views, where I share my view and review on a film or movie. And remember, it's my view. Now, what you watching?